This is the third part of our discussion with D.Raghunandan on climate change and China-US agreement. When we talk about the equity principle, allocating carbon space, people say, well, aren't you talking about the right to pollute? Now, is this about the right to pollute? Is this the right to use the global commons, which is what the carbon space is? Or is it also a right to development, in which right to energy becomes an integral part?
Clearly, this is the right to develop. And the right to develop, at least for the next 20 or 30 years, is going to involve carbon-based emissions. You're not going to be able to develop with zero carbon emissions starting from tomorrow. That's not possible even for the most developed country in the world with access to all the modern technologies. And it certainly is not going to be, that option is not available to a country like India. So this is not a right to pollute, because you've already set, as I said, a ceiling. The 2 degrees centigrade goal gives you a ceiling for the total emissions. IPCC fifth assessment report has actually put the numbers down in terms of the total carbon budget that is left. And it is this carbon budget which is required to be maintained in order that the global goal of not allowing temperature rise to cross 2 degrees centigrade is maintained.
So, given all these issues, should India have looked at what, in fact, the Sherpa for G20, Mr. Prabhu, had already announced, that India will break with China and try to take its own position? Do you, in that sense, don't you feel that it has actually allowed China, therefore, to bolt from the stable, as it were, and preempt India on that? Don't you think it was in some sense, it was a rather unfortunate statement that India expressed in terms of breaking with other countries?
Completely. I think India is doing its usual game. Question is not whether India would break from China. The question is, and what this joint statement has brought out, and which we now learn the US and China has been working on for the last 9 months, is that India has been totally out of the loop on this, out of tune with what's going on with the world, and that China has been ready to break with India and with the other countries for a long time now and set its own agenda in the pursuit of its own national interests. The question is why India has not thought through the climate crisis, the issue that affects India, the fact that India is one among the top 10 most affected regions of the world, and that it is in India's vital national interests to secure an effective, science-based and equitable climate resolution in Paris. India, on the other hand, keep acting defensively, preferring to stave off a solution, thinking that that is of great help to India, rather than accepting a good solution or getting ideas to develop a good solution.
Last question. The African group did present an equity-based principle, or it tried to, in the basic meeting, and would still probably try and place it along a larger audience. Do you think India should have responded to it, and if it didn't accept that framework, could have proposed something as an alternative one?
Absolutely. The equity reference framework developed by South Africa and tabled on behalf of the Africa group as a whole has its weaknesses. However, without going into details of what it contains and what it doesn't, I think India committed a big mistake by rejecting that outright. Because the idea which India should have grasped was that you required an equity principle for the forthcoming climate agreement. Now, South Africa had put across one idea. India could have put across another idea, as we were discussing earlier, could have put across the carbon budgets approach as an equally good idea, and seen which flew better, rather than reject an idea outright. I think India has missed the boat once again. You don't claim leadership by rejecting other people's ideas. You claim leadership by putting across a good one yourself.
India is unwilling to lead the developing countries and has got is really looking for sweetheart deals from the United States, which on climate change
is not going to happen.
not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Not going to get. Thank you, Raghu, for coming to us and discussing this issue. We'll keep following this issue with you in the future.
Sure.
Thank you very much.